Okay, today's daf is Yoma Lamed Ches, Yoma 38. The Mishnah says, Lamed Chem and Aleph, Ve'elu L'gnai, Shal Beis Garmo, L'ratz L'lamed Al Ma'isa Lechem Aponim. The house of Beis Garmo didn't want, they knew how to do Lechem Aponim to make it. They didn't want to teach other people. Shal Beis Avtinas, L'ratz L'lamed Al Ma'isa Torahs. Hogrus ben Levi, you're there. They Perek Shir, you know how to sing well. But L'ratz L'lamed, Ben Kam to L'ratz L'lamed Al Ma'isa Aksav. They didn't want to teach people how to write in a special way. Al Rishonim Nemar Zeichar Tzadik Levracha. Al Elu Nemar V'Shem Rishonim Yerko. On the first people, it says Zeichar Tzadik Levracha, that the name should be blessed. On the second people, it says Shem Rishonim Yerko. Elu Nemar Shem Rishonim Yerko. So Pashtus, the way Art Scroll learns, you have to start off the way Art Scroll learns because most of the Daf Yomi world uses Art Scroll. He says Elu L'gnai is going on Al Rishonim. When it says Al Rishonim, Nemar Zeichar Tzadik Levracha is going on the Mishnah on Lamed Zayin, where it talks about people that made things out of gold. They refurbished the Beis Hamikdash, made it out of gold, things out of gold. Hilni Amalka and others. So they were called Zeichar Tzadik Levracha. Elu, on these four people in the Mishnah, they want to teach other people. They're called Shem Rishonim Yerkov. Their name should rot because they didn't teach. They weren't nice. They didn't teach other people. The second interesting thing about this Gemara is that the Gemara says that they come and wanted to find other people to do it instead of them because they weren't teaching other people and they couldn't find other people. So then they had them come back, and they asked him. They asked Beis Garmo and Beis Avtinas. They asked him, "Why aren't you teaching other people?" So they said. They answered the back. They knew, our ancestors knew that eventually this house, this mishpach of Kohanim is going to be destroyed. Someone might come and do avodah zarah with lechem upon him or with the ketores, and we don't want this. Therefore, we don't teach other people. And then it says the Gemara says, "Al davar zeh maskirun tel shvach." The way Art Scroll learns that Al Davar Zeh Maskirun Tel Shvach is going on the next part of the Gemara. The Gemara says a different aspect, that a good thing they did, that they would never had bread in their hands, that people shouldn't think they stole from Lechem upon him. You could read Al Davar Zeh Maskirun Tel Shvach also, or just to be going on the previous thing, that they had an excuse why they didn't teach other people. And if it's true that they had a good excuse, so why are we saying in the Mishnah that we were Meskirno Sam L'gnai and Shem Rishonim Yerkov if really they did something good? And even the Gemara later on, the bottom of Lechem and Aleph, there was a story where a future child from that family, he actually told over parts of the Ketores. And they said, the last line on from now on, you can't speak bad about them. So how can the Mishnah say, B'Shem Rishonim Yerkov? One other thing to talk about is that on Lamed Chem Beis, the Gemara talks about a tzaddik and the idea of Zeichar Tzadik Levracha. And towards the bottom, Amar Elazar Afil B'Shvil Tzaddik Echad Olam Nivra. Even because of one tzaddik, a world is created. What exactly does that mean? In order to answer all these questions, I want to suggest that when the Mishnah says Al Rishonim Nemar Zeichar Tzadik Levracha, Al Elu Nemar Shem Rishonim Yerkov, we're talking about Al Rishonim is not talking about the first people; it's talking about the second generation. Al Elu is talking about the original family. Like they said, they asked him, the Chum asked him, "Why didn't you teach the Ketores? Why didn't you teach Lechem upon him?" They said, "Our fathers, our forefathers, they were afraid that it would be handed over to avodah zarah." So their forefathers didn't give the excuse. Elu Nemar V'Shem Rishonim Yerkov, their names should rot. And what does that mean? The Gemara says. The Gemara on Lamed Chem Beis says, "What does it mean V'Shem Rishonim Yerkov?" Amar Rabbi Elazar Vivu says Ta'aleh B'Shmosa and Lo Maskinu B'Shma. We don't call people on their name. Presumably Zeichar Tzadik Levracha means we name people after Tzadikim. Shem Rishonim Yerkov. We don't name people the name of Rishonim. Al Rishonim, just like the Rishonim. Rashi and Tosfos are called Rishonim, even though they're after the Gemara. The Rishonim, when it's talking about the generation, the middle generation, not before it was Charev, but not the original ancestors, they had an excuse. They gave an excuse. They said that the reason we don't teach is because we don't want to fall into Avodah Zarah. And the Gemara says, I wanted to read it as going both on the back and then what it says in the next thing. It says, because they had an excuse. And the Gemara says, meaning it's important, the Gemara is stressing that it's important to be naki in the eyes of Hashem and Yisrael. What does that mean exactly? It means that what it looks good in the eyes of people. It looks good in the eyes of people when you're generous, when you're nice to other people. People look at you, you have a good name. People want to be associated with people who are generous to them because it'll benefit them ultimately. That's Mi Yisrael. We say, V'yikari Shmo Bi Yisrael. You want to have a good name in Yisrael. That's Zecher Sadik Levracha. But also you want to be Naki Me Hashem. Naki Me Hashem. Hashem ultimately, Ben Adam Makom, really the same thing as Ben Adam La'atzmo, is that everyone has a spark of Hashem inside them, and you have to do V'chai B'hem. You're supposed to do what's best for you in life. Ultimately, you want to have a good name. That's good for you also, and be Naki Me Yisrael. But ultimately, you want to do the best thing for yourself before other people. Your needs come before the needs of everybody else. That's V'nisim Nekiyim Hashem. So for personal reasons, whatever the reasons, they had an excuse. They said it didn't want to fall into Avodah Zarah. Was that the real reason? Who knows? But they didn't want to teach it. They were doing what's the best for themselves because the Gemara says they made a lot of money off of this, and they didn't want to teach other people. They lose their parnasa. So they had an excuse. They had Avodah Zarah. So they were Nakim Hashem. Once they came over, the Rishonim had a good excuse. They were able to get what they wanted, to keep all their money for themselves, and to be Nakim Hashem, which was to do the best for themselves, and to be Nakim Yisrael, is that they came up with an excuse. So Al Rishonim Nemar Zecher Sadik Vracha, the Rishonim, this second generation, you can call people by their names because they had an excuse. They weren't considered to be bad in the eyes of Yisrael. The original ancestors, they didn't teach it. They didn't have an excuse. Shem Hashem Yerkav, you don't name after them. So therefore, Valdavar Zen and Maskir Zal Shvach is going both on the fact they had an excuse, which made them Nikiyim Hashem, and what they did, that they no one saw them eating bread. They shouldn't think they stole from the Chapanim. That was Mi Yisrael. So therefore, they could be called Zecher Sadik Levracha, and that's also what the Gemara says. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Afilu B'Shvel Sadik Echad Olam Nivra. It's talking about, it means that because of a tzaddik, an olam nivra, meaning a child who's born with the name of the tzaddik, so therefore the tzaddik creates, sort of in a certain sense, creates another world in the fact that a person is named after the tzaddik. Because you name in the name of a tzaddik. It's not saying necessarily that tzaddik is worthy of creating new people. Just saying that Tzaddik Levracha, you call in the name of a Tzaddik because the Tzaddik has a good name. Tzaddikim have a good name. A lot of times Tzaddikim are good li Yisrael. They do good. They do generosity, but they're not good to themselves. They don't take care of their own needs. And it's just in the Nikim Yisrael. It's not Nikim Hashem. But they do give a good name, so therefore you name after them.